Hello friends and welcome to the latest Town Transfer Talk video, your weekly update on all the transfer comings and goings, rumours and discussion around Ipswich Town. I'm Mark Heath and with me are the two guys in the know, Andy Warren and Stuart Watson. And of course we have to start, as I always call it, the sexy stuff, the potential ins at Ipswich Town. We talked last week about Luke Thomas and another name was thrown into the pot this week. Stuart Watson, Josh Harrop, an attacking midfielder from Preston. Tell us more.
Yeah, a deal Ipswich have been working on for quite some time. I think they were hopeful that he would have been in the building by now, certainly before last weekend's game against Swindon. Stuart Taylor had said in the pre-match press conference they were hopeful of having someone in, but it's not happened so far. In the case of Luke Thomas, I think that's to do with Barnsley wanting to get people in before they let him out. In the case of Josh Harrop, I think there's some more haggling to be done on contribution of wages and just in general whether they've changed their mind on whether he should be going out for a loan this month. So he's ex-Manchester United, came through the youth ranks there, scored on his debut in one of those sort of end-of-season games where the kids get a chance, and then promptly turned down a new deal at Old Trafford and signed a 4-year deal at Preston. The tale of his time at Deepdale so far has been a bit part player. Had some really good spells, notably last season when he had a run of starts and goals at the start of the season, likewise in the January time, but has been largely a sort of bench impact player along the way. Had a whole year wiped out with a knee injury at one stage, and slight concern is that he's had a few little hamstring niggles this season, but technically very gifted, good with both feet. He can score a free kick, he can take a set piece, and the hope is that he would add to those creative options for Ipswich and help create some chances, which is obviously something they've struggled with this season.
Andy, obviously last week we talked about Luke Thomas, the winger from Barnsley, but this isn't an either-or situation, is it? You understand that Town want both?
No, very much so. They want both now. They wanted both last week and they wanted potentially both the week before that as well. I think there's some growing frustration that the early business just hasn't been possible this January. We hear it from Ipswich Town every transfer window, get the business done early, get it done and get going. But we're here in the middle of January and it hasn't happened. They still want both. They're on the radar. Harrop's obviously the new one to talk about here. And for me, it's the set pieces excite me. Ipswich haven't had this in their side this season or the second half of last season, really. That the early days of Luke Garbett, when he was really on it from dead ball, be it corners or free kicks, that excites me. I think his first 3 Preston goals, Harrop, were all direct free kicks, and he's got goals from outside the box in him, and can get into the box as well and link with strikers. I'd look forward to seeing what he can do in an Ipswich side, particularly if they can get James Norwood fit and firing up front. That's key to all of this for me. Is creativity is what they need, but they also need someone to take advantage of that creativity at the end. So get Norwood fit. If you can get him playing like he was in the second half of that game with Swindon at the weekend, then that's a recipe for success for me. If you can add somebody behind him to create, and then somebody maybe coming off one of the wings that can add a little bit more from wide areas, which is something they haven't had since Gwion Edwards got injured. Get him back, get a winger in, get some players that connect with James Norwood, and you could transform this team.
And is there any update on Luke Thomas? Obviously, we spoke last week. If you missed that, go back and watch the video there. But we understand that Town were obviously keen to get business done earlier. Has there been any update there on Luke Thomas?
It's just the same, just similar to what Stu's just said there. It's a case of Barnsley needing to recruit. He has been playing. He's been in Barnsley's squad for all of these games. He's been getting on the pitch as well. But if they can get somebody in, then they'll let him go out, and that's when Ipswich could move. Sunderland were in for him. I think there was a time where he thought that Sunderland would be his destination. That changed. He then looked and felt like he was heading to Ipswich, from what I understand, and that could well still happen, but it will need some movement at the Barnsley end.
It's important to say that Ipswich aren't the only team looking at Harrop as well. Hull are also very much in for him as well. We think that Ipswich are, again, the preferred destination of choice, but Hull obviously a League One promotion rival and looking at him as well.
I should just apologise if you can hear the noise behind me. Currently having one of my bathrooms renovated, so that is what the noise is. But we'll plough on regardless. The show must go on. And in terms of ins there, we've talked about 2 exciting potential ins. There's also an outlinked earlier this week, Freddie Sears, linked with a move back to an old club, Hutchie.
Yep, Freddie Sears linked with a move from to Colchester United, where obviously he was before joining Ipswich in 2015. He still lives in Colchester. You could see why it might potentially make sense for somebody like Freddie at this stage, who's out of contract at the end of this season. If there was a multi-year offer on the table there, something that he's far from certain to get here, regardless of what happens between now and the end of the season. So I could see why this would interest him, but I could also see why it wouldn't, why he wouldn't be rushing to drop to League Two right now. But we understand that any interest hasn't gone much further than that. It's not something Ipswich are looking to do imminently, although saying that they do need to move a senior figure out of their squad for salary cap reasons to be able to bring one in. Thomas wouldn't be a senior player. He can be added regardless in terms of that, but in terms of a wage, Josh Harrop's wage would go into a salary cap pot, which Ipswich currently have very little wiggle room in. So it's one that could potentially happen, but it's not anywhere near being done at the moment.
Thoughts on Freddie Sears potentially exiting Portman Road, Stewie?
My fear would be it could leave them a little short for quite a hectic schedule going ahead. It feels like Freddie Sears' long service at this club might just be drifting towards its end. He's out of contract in the summer. If they go up, certainly I don't think Freddie Sears would be saying if they don't go up, there'd be a big decision to make whether you're going to take that extra year option on him. But I think that would be the only thing you'd be looking to do, take an option rather than negotiate anything longer. So I would say maybe the summer would be more likely than January for this deal, would be my gut instinct.
Okay. Any other names, positions to throw into the mix, boys, before we take our leave for this week?
The only other one is potentially Janoy Donasian, which we've highlighted before. I think probably on this video last week we discussed potential exit for him. At that time, it was Accrington and Colchester who are looking at something there. Accrington's still very much interested in him, and that's one that could happen potentially at some point. Although there could also be interest coming in from other clubs.
Super. We better wrap this up before they come through the door, boys. So make a hell of a mess in my bathroom. Right then, that is Town Transfer Talk for this week. Your weekly update, just as we try and define fact from fiction. Follow the boys all across social media for the latest, of course, on Ipswich Town's transfers, and come back next week and see us again.